The Pacific Ocean is a space of immense hidden power, where the displacement of water often signals a far more significant displacement of regional influence. In July 2026, a Chinese nuclear-powered submarine fired a JL-3 ballistic missile. It arced over the Pacific and splashed down north of Tuvalu. It was a test carrying a dummy warhead, but the message was live. New Zealand Foreign Minister Winston responded with immediate gravity. Within hours, he was at the lectern, positioning New Zealand as a swift and unyielding defender of the region. He invoked the Treaty of Rarotonga, accusing China of violating the spirit of a nuclear-free Pacific. He framed the launch as a direct threat to regional stability, an unwelcome intrusion into an ocean that New Zealand and its partners have pledged to keep peaceful. Peters frames this as kaitiatanga, guardianship. But this specific alarm only rings for one side of the horizon, revealing a double standard built into the very foundation of New Zealand's current foreign policy. By centering the conversation on this single Chinese launch, the government defines threat through a very narrow lens, one that avoids looking at the much longer, more destructive history of military activity in these exact waters. Shift the lens back just 3 months, to March 2026. The United States military fired its own ballistic missile from California, aimed directly at the Marshall Islands. For this American test, there was no press conference from Winston Peters, no treaties were invoked, no concerns about regional stability were registered with the public. The silence is particularly heavy given the location. The U.S. has already detonated 67 nuclear tests in the Marshall Islands, leaving behind a landscape of radioactive soil and skeletal dead trees that remain as monuments to Western nuclear violence. This chart clarifies the scale of that violence. This small sphere represents the Hiroshima bomb. The massive sphere growing beside it is the Castle Bravo test, detonated in the Marshall Islands, and 1,000 times more powerful than the blast that leveled a city. When the alarm only sounds for Eastern adversaries, it functions less as a security system and more as a shield for Western allies, granting them a free pass to continue testing in a region they have already profoundly traumatized. The contradictions are even more specific along the flight path of China's recent missile, which soared through the exclusive economic zone of Kiribati. In this exact airspace, between 1957 and 1962, the UK and US conducted 33 atmospheric nuclear tests. These were not dummy warheads, they were live bombs that rained radioactive fallout on local families, leading to generations of cancer. We are comparing a single Chinese test flight to 33 historical Western explosions. Yet, in the official narrative, it is only the first event that warrants the invocation of a nuclear-free treaty. There is a legal hollowness to that invocation as well. While Peters cites the Treaty of Rarotonga, the United States has never actually ratified Protocol 3, the specific rule that would legally commit it to stop testing within that zone. Weaponizing a treaty born from Pacific suffering to scold a rival, while refusing to demand your own ally sign its binding rules, betrays the very people the treaty was designed to protect. This selective outrage isn't limited to rhetoric. It has a direct financial cost. Recently, New Zealand moved to punish the Cook Islands and Kiribati for attempting to exercise their own diplomatic sovereignty. $20 million in development aid plummeted to zero after they signed agreements with Beijing. Conversely, New Zealand's spending shifted. This rising line represents $5.8 billion in new defense spending, a massive Western military commitment, while Pacific needs were abandoned. You cannot claim to be a protector of the Pacific family while weaponizing the survival funding of those same neighbors to ensure they serve your geopolitical preferences. The Solomon Islands Prime Minister recently spoke for much of the region, stating that testing from China, America, or anyone else is unacceptable. True guardianship, true kaitiakatanga, requires a single standard. It means looking clearly at the history written in fallout and demanding accountability from every power that treats the Pacific as its personal testing ground.